Hey guys! So, for today, I found some of the funniest entitled people stories on Reddit. Just take a guess at how old you think the sister in the first story is. Am I the a-hole for letting my sister go thirsty through an entire meal? Posted by Proof Strategy 2442. My sister does this thing where she'll just say something that she wants with the expectation that someone will do it for her. For example, if she wants the aircon turned on, instead of asking someone to turn it on for her, she'll just keep repeating things like, "Oh, isn't it super warm in here? Does anyone else feel really hot? I heard today is a super hot day." And if someone asks her if she wants the aircon turned on, she'll reply, No, I'm good, but if you're hot, then you should turn it on." Anyways, last weekend it was my birthday, so my family and I went out to celebrate. During the meal, she kept making comments, implying that she wanted another cocktail, but wouldn't order one. Wait, a cocktail? Are we talking about a person that's old enough to drink? I genuinely thought that we're talking about a 5-year-old. The waitress came by and asked if we needed anything, and she didn't order a drink, even when the rest of us all did. I could tell she was getting agitated at that point, but it was my birthday, so I ignored her. So everyone at the table ordered a drink, and when the waitress looked at her, she just ignored her, told her no, but expected everyone to order her a drink anyway? If someone ordered a cocktail for me when I've already told the waitress no, I'd think they were trying to get me drunk, like, what the F? When we all got home, she got really snippy and said that it was super rude that we all got our own drinks, but didn't order one for her. Yeah? Did she order you guys any drinks? It wasn't even her birthday. Why is she so special? My brother and I brought up that she said no when the waitress asked, but she said that wasn't the issue. So she literally said no. At that point, it would have been straight up rude to order her a drink. In her opinion, we should have known to order her a drink too, because everyone else got one, and the fact that we let her go thirsty was inconsiderate. And in future, we ought to order her drinks too. I'd outright ask her why she doesn't order drinks for you guys. That's super inconsiderate, right? Especially given it's OP's birthday. She also said that she only said no to the waitress because her family should have taken care of her. Her words, not mine. So, by her own logic, she doesn't take care of her family? Or is she just so helpless that her family must make all decisions on her behalf? If so, suggest getting legal guardianship in place for her, since she's so helpless apparently. The three of us have been arguing back and forth about it, and I'm just so tired of fighting. So I wanted to get some more opinions on whether or not I should have just ordered her a drink as well. Easy not the a-hole, but screw the fighting. I'd have fun with it and mess with her a little. Like, order her the weirdest thing on the menu, and if she protests, just brush her off and insist that you've got this. You'll order for her. Spicy snails and licorice cocktail it is. Entitled Mum berated me for using sign language in public. Posted by Business Secret 8725. I, 22 female, am hard of hearing and use both speech and sign language. I was at a cafe with my best friend, who's deaf, and we were both signing and chatting over coffee. This woman comes up and says, "Excuse me, do you have to do that here?" I asked, "Do what?" "The hand thing! My kid is trying to eat and you're distracting him. It's rude." I blinked. "You mean the sign language?" She nodded and said, "It looks aggressive. He's trying to learn proper manners and you're confusing him." I said, "You could teach him that people communicate in different ways. That's a great life lesson." She huffed and called me a liberal weirdo and walked off muttering. Her poor kid waved at us when they left. We waved back. The barista gave us free cookies for being the least weird people here today. It's funny that she's trying to teach her son manners, and her way to do that is to harass deaf people for using sign language. Entitled Mum yanks my mum's prosthetic arm off after demanding her disable parking spot. Post by deleted. This story takes place somewhere in the late 90s. Backstory. My mum was in an accident when she was 14 and lost her right arm. She has about a quarter of that arm left that she calls her stub, and to be honest, the loss hasn't done much to derail her. She drives, she has a joystick-esque thing that sticks out of the wheel, and she turns it like she's steering a ship. She calls it her knob, loudly and in public. She also worked a long time until she started having issues with the arm that she does have. And she's generally been the person in the family to host and prepare all events, and do all the labour. Honestly, she's my hero. But you're here for the story, so here goes. Mum and I went to the supermarket during the busy hours on a weekend because we couldn't make our usual after-school weekday trip when things are less crazy. We go around the whole parking lot twice, as does a row of cars behind us, and we finally managed to nab a disabled spot right by the entrance because someone was leaving as we approached. Now, my mum rarely uses the disabled parking, even though she is permitted, because she always says that people who can't walk need it more. But again, she is permitted, and there weren't any other spaces. After we park and get out, we hear a loud honk a few times, followed by, "Excuse me!" as a woman runs up from behind, catching us just before the entrance to the store. This woman literally left her car running in the middle of a busy parking lot, causing a massive pile-up. So Karen, that's her name now, catches our attention with her shouting, and when we turn around, we're greeted with her, "Can I speak to the manager haircut, 90s edition," and about half a dozen kids, ranging from goth tween to a toddler in her arms. Yikes, a whole horde. Karen then goes on to explain how the spot that my mum just parked in is for disabled people, in a very accusatory tone. My mum was wearing a long sleeve coat, so it was an honest mistake, even though it was a little weird the way she just abandoned her car and ran up to us with her entire litter. Still, my mum smiles and proclaims, "Don't worry, I'm allowed to park there," and we turn back around. That answer just wasn't good enough for Karen. Suddenly, Karen and her kids are in front of us, and she's given the toddler to one of her children, just so that she can fold her arms and pout. "As you can see," she gestures towards her kids, "I have a lot going on, and I need that spot more than you do. You only have one child." It's a disabled parking spot, not a parent parking spot. Does she actually have the right to park there? Now, I must have been only 6 or 7, but even I knew the difference between disabled parking and those reserved for parents with small children. I said something on the lines of, "You need a disabled badge to park there. It doesn't matter how many kids you have," in 6 or 7-year-old lingo, and this woman took major offense. I mean, them's just be the facts. She goes off on a major rant about how being a mother to all her kids was hard, how she was having an awful day, week and month, and how it's not fair that my mum, who looks perfectly fine, had tricked the government into getting a badge that lets her park in a spot that Karen should obviously have instead. As she rambles on about this, she looks around, garnering the attention of the other shoppers, and is doing the whole "don't you agree with me" thing that people do when they want to validate themselves, but never gave anyone a chance to respond because she was already on to the next person. Mum grabs my hand and tries to lead me around Karen, ignoring her entirely, but Karen keeps stepping in front of my mum, demanding her spot. She's getting increasingly annoyed / loud. I remember asking my mum several times if I'd done something wrong because my response seemed to have triggered this rant, but she kept reassuring me that it was fine and that I should just ignore her, which annoyed Karen even more. This goes on for about 5 minutes, a very long 5 minutes, before my mum finally snaps and says, "I have one arm!" silencing Karen mid-sentence. I used to wonder why she didn't just tell Karen earlier, but as I've grown up, I've come to realise that it wasn't anyone else's business, and I can see why my mum wouldn't want to take off her jacket, which is kind of a chore for her, just to prove something. Yeah, that's kind of what the disabled badge is for. Either you've got one or you don't. Otherwise, it's none of anyone's business. So we begin to walk around Karen again, but barely make it 5 feet before we hear her go, "BS!" What happens next is seared into my brain. Karen storms up to my mum and tries to undress her. What? She is shaking and calling my mum a liar. My mum then goes into full fight mode because physical alterations are obviously way more intense and scary for her. She starts scratching, flailing and kicking, and as she does this, one of Karen's children attempts to jump in and help their mum, which leads me to jump in and help mine. and suddenly I'm brawling with her kids. This couldn't have lasted more than 30 seconds. It was enough time for people to stop and gather, but not enough for anyone to react or put a stop to it. I can't imagine what it must have looked like. 2 women in their 30s fighting as their children do the same beside them. But it all came to a stop when somehow Karen managed to yank my mum's jacket from her, and off pops her prosthetic arm with it. It crashed to the ground, resulting in a universal gasp. The moment you realise you just attacked a disabled person. All that's left on my mum's arm is a suction pad and a sharp nail-like hook that slots into the prosthetic. It looks like a blade sticking out of her stub. And without missing a beat, my mum raises it to Karen and in a sarcastic tone goes, "Come on then!" I wish I was old enough at the time to realise how hilarious that was. A woman from the crowd stormed into our little fight circle, picked up my mum's arm and handed it to her before going off on Karen, who looked smaller than a 7-year-old me at this point. People started shouting, "Security!" and Karen rallies her spawn and they all run for her car. I still remember her kids yelling for her to not leave them behind because only her oldest could keep up with her running away as the rest trailed behind. My mum was visibly shaken, but wanted to save face for me and the crowd that was suddenly hounding us. She insists she's fine, she doesn't want the police, doesn't want to fuss, and we go about our shop. When we got to the checkout, about 20-30 minutes later, a few of the people that witnessed the whole thing insisted on paying for my mum's shop, which she reluctantly accepted. Then they helped us take all our shopping to the car. When we got home, my mum tells me that she doesn't want me getting into fights ever again, and then she lets me have way too many donuts. Yeah, you can tell she's proud of you. Man, what a badass mum you've got. Alright, I think that's our last story for today. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Have a great rest of your day. Bye!